This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Where news breaks first. News Radio 1290 WNBF.
This is News Radio 1290 WNBF News. Rain today, possibly mixed with snow showers, high near 40. Mostly cloudy tonight, chance of snow showers, low around 20. Partly sunny Thursday with a slight chance of snow showers, high near 32. At least 3 vehicles sustained damage from a pothole that opened up near a bridge on Route 17 in Vestal. The trouble developed around the start of Monday's late afternoon commute in an eastbound lane of the expressway. Vestal police received calls from 3 drivers who reported their vehicles were disabled after striking the massive hole. An absorbent material was spread on the spilled oil on Pearl Street near the end of the exit ramp. Drivers told police that vehicles were swerving suddenly as drivers spotted the giant pothole and tried to avoid it. The State Department of Transportation dispatched crews to assess the problem caused by a missing chunk of concrete. Eastbound traffic on the highway was backed up for more than an hour after the first report of a damaged vehicle. In an emailed statement, a DOT spokesperson said a lane of Route 17 was closed for about 90 minutes to repair loose concrete on the bridge. The state of New York is moving to update its fracking ban. Hydraulic fracturing usually involves injecting huge amounts of water deep underground to break layers of rock and release natural gas. A Texas company wants to use liquefied carbon dioxide instead. Southern Tier Solutions say the carbon captured from power plants is a cleaner way of extracting fossil fuels. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins says New York doesn't have much of an appetite for fracking of any kind. The expanded ban passed in the state assembly and is up for a Senate vote this week. On March 18th, officers of the Cortland County Sheriff's Office stopped a vehicle at the pit stop located on Route 11 in the town of Cortlandville for insufficient turn signal. During the traffic stop, officers determined that the operator, Eric Schubert, was operating the vehicle with a suspended driver's license. He and his passengers, Tyler Conkling and Adam Simpson, were found to be in possession of 566 bags of fentanyl, approximately 46 grams of meth, 115 grams of Molly, and 11.5 grams of cocaine, among other illegal drugs, and a digital scale, packaging material, and an undisclosed amount of U.S. currency. Conkling was in possession of a loaded ghost gun, which is an unserialized handgun. The drugs had an approximate street value of $22,540. All 3 were arrested and charged with 4 counts of criminal possession of controlled substance in the 3rd degree, criminal possession of controlled substance in the 5th degree, 2 counts of criminal using drug paraphernalia in the 2nd degree, and possession of synthetic drugs, local law. Contraceptives will be available without a prescription in New York under an order signed by state health officials. The order signed Tuesday is part of New York Governor's mission to bolster reproductive rights at a time when it is restricted in other parts of the country. Trained pharmacists will be able to hand out self-administered hormonal contraceptives, including oral birth control pills and the patch, even if the patients don't have prescriptions. Participating pharmacists must complete a training developed by state education officials before they can dispense. Hochul's office said the service could be made available in the next several weeks. The Delaware County District Attorney announced that Misty Cintron of Sydney was convicted of 2 Class B felonies on March 18th. For the first indictment, she was alleged to have sold fentanyl to an undercover police informant. The second indictment was the result of sheriff's investigators recovering several controlled substances during the execution of that search warrant. Cintron pleaded guilty to 1 count of criminal sale of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree and criminal possession of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree, possession with intent to sell. Prior to pleading guilty, she admitted to selling fentanyl in the village of Sydney on December 30th of 2022 and possessed fentanyl with the intention of selling it at her home on November 1st, 2023. She is anticipated to be sentenced 3.5 years in state prison, to be followed by 1 year of post-release supervision for her conviction of criminal sale of a controlled substance. Donald Trump is hurtling toward a critical deadline in his most costly legal battle to date. If the former president doesn't come up with a financial guarantee by Monday, New York's Attorney General could start the process of collecting on the more than $454 million Trump owes the state in a civil fraud lawsuit. Trump's lawyers are trying to stop that from happening. They have asked the court to put collection efforts on hold while he appeals the staggering verdict. The presumptive Republican presidential nominee failed to get a bond for the full amount, what would have the dual purpose of stopping the clock on collection during his appeal and ensuring the state gets its money if he were to lose. That's a look at news. For updates on local news, weather, sports, and features, open up the WNBF app and online at WNBF.com. This is News Radio 1290 WNBF.
Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now, Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. It's the first full day of spring. Get out and enjoy it.
Don't fall asleep in the snow. Come up from below. Wipe the sleep from your eyes. Oh my. Shake the dust off your hands and come run free on this land. If you wanna survive. It's time to wake up and sing. It's time to wake up and sing. It's time to wake up and sing. Oh, put the crown on the king. Oh, put the crown on the king. Put the crown on the king, yeah. Live your life. Come rise up. Come give love. Watch the rain.
A brand new day, brand new show. Welcome to my world, 607-772-1290. Dial in and win an unlimited amount of time on the air. Some restrictions may apply. If you notice that, no matter where you go these days or what they're attempting to induce you to buy, or in some cases subscribe to, some restrictions may apply. Of course. It's a story of life. Some restrictions and exclusions may apply. At any rate, we're here to inform, enlighten, entertain, and just basically help the community understand what is going on around here. All right, let's talk about something controversial. Infrastructure, and not so much just infrastructure in general, roads specifically. Why are the roads around here so ... You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm just asking for a friend. Why are the roads around here so ... You fill in the blank, but remember, we're on the air, so some rules will apply when you address that issue. A lot of people say, well, what do you expect? That's true. What do you expect? We live in the Northeast. We experience all types of weather. Freeze-thaw cycles, thaw-freeze cycles, rain and snow and sun. But does that mean the roads have to be in this bad shape to the point where people, on a Monday afternoon, everything's going fine. You're saying, oh, the week is off to a swell start, so you're heading home. You're saying, I got out of work 2 minutes early, so the Monday work day was considered a success. Got everything done that had to be done on Monday. And then you're just driving on the 17 or the Southern Tier Expressway or whatever. And Suddenly your car is disabled. Well, it happened to fine people like you on Monday afternoon on 17 in Vestal. I mean, why does that have to happen? Isn't there a way to inspect our highways before they get to the point of disabling vehicles and tying up traffic for a couple of hours? I'm just asking for a friend. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Tom from Mendwell. How are you doing today, Bob?
Oh, good. How are you?
Good. Maybe we could fix some of these potholes if we, instead of sending all that money to Ukraine, maybe we can put some in our roads. Just a thought.
Well, I think we can do both. I think we can fund the efforts in Ukraine and also pay to keep our highways in the southern tier in decent shape so our cars don't fall apart, so our tires don't get wrecked. At one woman, she was driving on that bridge there on 17 around 4 o'clock Monday afternoon, and something involving that problem at the bridge, something caused some damage under her car, so her car sprang an oil leak. So I think we're capable. This is a mighty nation, so we have plenty of resources. But I do agree we definitely need to find the money needed to fix our roads. I mean, what will happen, Tom, if they don't fix these roads and then say we have a bridge collapse? What then?
I mean, the only thing I can say is fire up that money printing press. You know?
Well, you know,
Fire it up.
Biden will do that, at least for this year. Between now and November, the big printing press that makes lots of money for grants, local, state, and federal grants, that printing press will be working overtime over the next, I guess, 7.5 months or so, because the voters need to be placated.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah, I mean,
you know, you could imagine me, Bob Joseph, your senator. I announce to you, as your senator, a $20 grant for this, I don't know, help go to fund a new water fountain at Highland Park.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some memes. If people see a big pothole, they should grab some dirt, fill it, and throw a bunch of flowers in there. And we'll have flowers all over.
May get to that point where there will be a civilian road corps. Civilian Road Corps, CRC, and they will take it upon themselves to fix our crumbling highways, to save fellow citizens from the aggravation of having a tire blowout or damage underneath your vehicle so you spring a leak and then spray oil all over the highway. You know, we need something. I'm not sure what the ultimate solution is, but what else is going on? What's going on? What?
I said flowers will be the...
Where are you calling from? San Francisco? Come on, man. Some flowers in your hair. Come on, man. This is not that kind of a show. We're here for Northeastern true-blooded Americans. Anyway, what else is going on in Endwell, Tom? Anything noteworthy lately that you've noticed?
Nothing major. But, you know, I just read, like, an article. A federal judge just ruled that illegals can bear arms.
Well, only if they get to the United States. They cannot, as far as I know, they're not allowed to bear arms, say, if they're still in Mexico. But once they get on the U.S. side of the border, if they're in Texas or Arizona, then they can legally bear arms. But if they're still in Mexico or some other country, I don't believe they have a legal right, although I guess I would have to check with some sort of international law expert. But, yeah, I'm not surprised. You're not surprised, are you?
No.
It seems par for the course. The way things are going, I'm not surprised. You know what I think is next? I think we're going to start hearing about New York City Mayor Eric Adams handing out $500 vouchers. So when people come into New York City, if they're flown in from Texas or wherever and they're not documented, Eric Adams will probably hand them a $500 coupon to buy guns and ammunition. That's probably what's next.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things with this whole illegal, these illegals crossing the border. They just shut down Texas from arresting illegals crossing the borders. And my thing is, this is all by design. I mean, you could clearly see it. Like, they want them to come in now.
I think they're looking ahead to the election. I think they're all laser focused on November, not just for getting Biden his next term, but also for some of the state elections. I think they must think that if you get more people who might lean toward Democratic candidates, that it could be enough, especially in close races, just enough to keep the Senate controlled by Democrats. Who knows? If they get enough people, new voters who like Democrats, they might even be able to win back the House. And our friend Hakeem Jeffries, Binghamton University graduate, could be the next Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I mean, you see the Democrats rushing to change the census to control the Senate. Honestly, I think this is meddling in the election at its finest, right in front of everybody's face, and it's nothing to see here. Keep it moving.
I know. Well, at least the media are covering it, but I think the coverage is generally ineffective. Appreciate your call. Yeah. Keep an eye on things. If you see anything going on up at Highland Park, give me a quick call, okay?
Yeah, if I see any potholes, I'll fill them up with flowers.
Thanks, Tom. It's 9:20 WNBF Live. This is your radio friend, Bob Joseph. We're taking the calls as I see fit. And as I said earlier, probably some restrictions and exclusions may apply. Or maybe not. It's Wednesday. Maybe there will be no restrictions and no exclusions. 607-772-1290. It's Binghamton Now on your Wednesday.
From the Galt Auto Studios, this is WNBF News Radio AM 1290. Also available at 92.1 FM. Reserve your new Toyota at Galt Toyota.
First News Binghamton, News Radio 1290, WNBF.
Providing you with the best solutions of your lifetime. The KSO Insurance Weekly Spotlight with Karen Sweet O'Neill on News Radio 1290 WNBF.
The following segment is sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions.
Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Karen. What's going on?
A little this, little that.
Did you hear spring arrived last night? That's why we have the weather.
Yes, I see this. Spring in Broome County. But you know what? We've had an easy winter.
I know.
So I'm not complaining.
I'm not going to complain. No.
Yeah.
All we need to do now is start complaining. And remember what happened 2 years ago, I think on April 18th, when we got slammed with that heavy, wet snow that knocked out power to 50,000 NYSEG customers in Broome County. That was mid-April.
Yeah.
That was about a month into
right.
spring. So don't ever think that we can't get snow. One of these years, it's going to snow on the 4th of July, and they're going to have to postpone the firecrackers.
Right?
So
I tell you what, not in these climate days.
No.
I don't think we're going to see that.
Well, you never know. What it is, it's not just global warming. It's the overall concept called climate change, because what it means is the people who used to maintain the weather machine, they got laid off as a cost-cutting move, and they expected the guys in charge, the executives in charge of the weather machine, they said, oh, we don't need the guys we've had all these years who have maintained it. The weather machine will run itself. Well, now they're finding out the hard way. You lay off all your best weather machine mechanics, and this is what we get. The weather machine is irreparably damaged, and we're going to have to deal with wild swings from sometimes mild temperatures in winter, like we had last week, and sometimes shockingly cold periods in summer. So don't put away your parka just yet.
Gotcha.
So anyway, having said that, having laid the groundwork for a
whatever that
successful
was,
segment,
yeah.
whatever,
Okay.
right, for people keeping track at home, it's like, yeah, you can disregard that last 2 minutes. Those are 2 minutes you will never get back. Now
Never
for
get back.
the important segment,
Well,
or the
okay,
portion
yeah.
where we've got some guidance from Karen.
Well, we're going to talk about Social Security. And as you know, and everybody knows out there, actually most people know, especially heading into retirement or even before heading into retirement, it's one of the biggest decisions that you're going to make on when you claim it and how it's going to affect your overall budget. And a lot of times people don't factor in that, it could be a very wise decision to wait to claim your benefits. It could be a good decision to take them early. So it all depends on your personal situation. But I thought we'd talk about the 4 factors, Bob, that are used to actually calculate your monthly Social Security check. So it's your earnings history, your work history, your full retirement age, and your claiming age. So the earnings history and the work history, they go hand in hand. And Social Security takes your 35 highest earning inflation-adjusted, years into account when calculating your monthly benefit. So what does that mean? That means you really want to not have a lot of zeros in your calculation, because zeros mean that, you didn't work for that year, and that all gets factored in. The third component the Social Security uses to calculate your monthly benefit is your full retirement age. And this is the age when we become eligible, to receive 100% of our retired worker benefit, and it's determined by the year that you were born. So anybody in this conversation will use anybody that was born in or after 1960, which does include most of the people that are working today, Not everybody, but they have a full retirement age of 67 years old. So why is that important? Well, because it averages into your thinking on your budget going forward on whether you want to take your Social Security early, if you want to wait for your full retirement age, or you want to wait to even longer where you can get the maximum benefit with Social Security, which is age 70. So what are the big differences? Well, at age 62, the average right now, Bob, the average Social Security check, and this isn't everybody, but the average is about $1,274. So $1,274 a month, about $22,000 a year, And if you wait till your full retirement age, the average, again, it's not everybody, because obviously there's higher earners and you're going to earn more in Social Security. But if you wait till your full retirement age, it's going to be about $1,844. So, and that's a month, so significant increase. If you wait to 70, you're almost at $2,000 per month, and that's an average earning. So why is that important? Well, it's important because you want to get the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak. So what factors do you look at besides, just I want to get my money? Well, if you're age 62, in between 62 and 67, and you're still working, then you have an income threshold that you need to be aware of, because if you make a certain amount of money over that income, then you're going to they're going to withhold benefits. Social Security is. What is that threshold? It's about $22,320. So does that make a lot of sense? For most people, it doesn't. But the thing about it is you don't forfeit all that money if you have to, give it back. You get it once you reach your full retirement age. So that's something to account for. But again, then you're looking in taxable situations and things of that nature. So you really want to be careful about that earnings test. Once you reach full retirement age. And again, we're using that 67 for people that are basically in the workforce today. Were born 1960 or after. You can earn as much money as you want, and you will not be penalized for it. So that's a very big factor for a lot of people that continue to work in retirement for many reasons. And a lot of times it's because they really like their career, they like their job, they want to remain active in it, and they don't want to get penalized for it. And perhaps the health care benefits are going to be so much less expensive if they don't need to go on Medicare Part B. But that's a whole different show. And then next week we're going to continue the talk, Bob, of Social Security about what happens if you're already claiming it. Is there any way to change your amount? And are there any other extra benefits that you might be entitled to that you're overlooking? We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway East, up above Plato's Closet in Style Encore. And you can reach us several ways for an appointment. You can simply give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can also Google us at KSO Insurance. All our contact information comes up, including our website, and you can make an appointment that way. Or if you miss the phone number, at 607-772-4898, and we'll take good care of you.
All right. Well, very good. I think we all have learned a few things this morning.
Well, let's hope so. We learned about that weather machine.
Yeah.
What? It's like, don't go there.
Well, so
right,
you can just...
I shouldn't encourage you.
No, don't. Don't do anything to encourage the animals. So anyway, thank you as always. I bid you a fond first full day of spring, and I encourage you to celebrate responsibly.
I shall. And you too, Bob.
Thanks. Take care. It's 9:32, the preceding live segment sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. We're going back to the phones in 2 minutes. This is WNBF's Binghamton Now. WNBF Live at 9:34. I'm Bob Joseph. Let's go to Shenango County. Vicki is in Green. Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's up?
Well, they're holding me hostage here through my driving record, DMV, in Albany, Norwich, and Binghamton. My insurance company's involved. They're committing forgery and fraud and everything else under the sun. They're filing false claims on me. They're collecting off it and keeping the money.
Well, what do they say? What are they claiming that you've done?
Accidents that I never had, and they're paying them out. I even called the governor and the attorney general and sent them forms and information and proof. I have over 100 files of evidence that proves all this, where they're forging my Social Security number, my driving license number. They're using the VIN off a car I don't even own. I hit a deer October 25th, 2020, out of state in Ohio, in town. And they went and the insurance company took the car over in December 21st, 2020. They had possession of the car. DMV left the car on the road so that I would get tickets out of state, get arrested, thrown in jail. Then in the courtrooms, they're forging my Social Security number. They're splitting trials. They're forging the information. I'm getting tickets for things I don't do, like a tinted windshield, which is untrue. They use the VIN off of vehicles I don't even own. The judges are dropping the charges. These are sealed, embossed documents. Now, when I got back to New York, they all set me up. They arrested me. I have all this evidence that proves all this, that I'm innocent. And all these judges here, 20 different courtrooms. We're talking Shenango County, Norwich Town Court, Norwich City Court, Green Village, Green Town Court, Smithville, Oxford, Kirkwood, all of them, Pennsylvania, right across the country. It's all connected together.
Have you filed a complaint with the state insurance regulators? Have you filed a formal complaint explaining what's going on?
Yes, I even sent them evidence. I sent it to the governor, the attorney general, and they sent the insurance company papers back that said that I wasn't insured at the time, and then I get a letter that says I am insured, and I have all this proof that I did have insurance.
Well, so here's the thing. There is a specific department in New York that handles complaints of this nature involving insurance companies. It used to be called the Department of Insurance or something like that, but it's now the Department of Financial Services, and that would be the most important place to file an official complaint if you haven't already done so.
Yes, I did file a complaint about that.
With that department, Department of Financial Services?
I don't know. I'll have to go look and
Well,
see.
yeah,
'Cause I called
check
everybody.
that out,
I
because if you send, here's the thing, if you send an email or some other note to the governor's office or the attorney general's office about insurance, it probably isn't going to get much action. But this specific department is set up to help regulate insurance companies. So if they do something that's wrong, this is the department that is supposed to take action and investigate and find out if they treated you improperly. And if they find that you did, then they can take action, either direct the insurance companies to fix the problem. And if they don't, insurance companies could face penalties from the state. If this agency reviews your case and finds that you've been treated inappropriately.
Yeah, so this is beyond just insurance company. We've got officers involved, the judges are involved, the public defenders. What they did is they forced the public defenders on me. The public defenders refused to look at the information that proves I'm innocent. It's got to do with more than just insurance, okay? And then the judges refused to let the information into the courtroom. Now they're trying to file false evaluations about me, mental evaluations to cover the whole thing up. We're talking conspiracy, organized crime, racketeering, exploiting me and the whole bit, and I have evidence to prove everything. I've called the FBI, I've called the Attorney General, I've called the governor, I've sent them all kinds of information. Nobody in New York State will help me. I cannot find an attorney, no place. I'm stalked by the public. They're filing false reports. They kick me out of stores for no reason. When I call the police department and tell them about a hate crime where a guy has chased me down the road, backed his truck up, opened the door, got out of it, and kicked me on my motorcycle and threatened me to shut up, I can't even file a hate crime because the police officers refuse to take it down and file it.
Well, I don't know. At this point, I don't know what else to say. I'm out of ideas.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for our listeners, stay tuned. Our listeners might have some ideas to help deal with the situation, because it sounds far more complicated than I thought.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Yeah, I'll give you my phone number.
No, no need to give my phone number. Well, certainly, I'm on the air. I can't take your number now. But what you could do is send me an email.
I don't have an email. I'd have to go to the library.
Well, when you have a chance, go to the library and just send me a quick email with your contact information.
And you could put it on the air?
Well, I'm not going to put your phone number on the air, because I don't put phone numbers of individuals on the air. But that way, if I can find out anything more that might help, then I could get in touch with you.
Yeah, I need a federal attorney.
Well, I don't know any, but as I say, when you have a chance, if you get access to email, go to the library and just send a quick note to bob@WNBF.com.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Wish you well.
Yeah, the judges are committing perjury.
Well, they're human. I'm not justifying anybody who doesn't tell the truth, but the only thing I know about humans is every human I'm familiar with engages in not telling the truth from time to time. I'm not saying all the time. It's 9:41. This is Bob Joseph live. Today, telling you nothing but the truth until noon. 607-772-1290 is the number. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM are your frequencies, Kenneth. And our website is WNBF.com.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
WNBF Live with Bob Joseph, 945. Beverly from the town of Dickinson. What's going on?
Hi, Bob. I got a question for you. I've been hearing from different people, from different friends of mine, and they say that they want to attack Social Security. Does anyone out there know why and why they want to do that?
It's just a political argument because the elections are coming up.
Yeah, because, they start doing that, Bob. Geez, they take enough out of me in a year for medical. Now you have to pay for B, C, and D now, and where before it was just B, because I have medical insurance and stuff, but now you got to pay. I think I pay an enormous amount. I don't think that's right.
Well, it's not right, but anyway, they're not going to take away your Social Security, and they're not going to take away your guns.
Like I said, I've heard it from three people already. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, they're just trying to scare
they can't
you.
Take Social Security away from us because we earn that.
Well, I say it's election year pandering, but the main thing is, if the right person is elected president in November, you won't have a thing to worry about.
Well,
okay, you think about that. Think about what I just said. If the right person is elected president in November, Americans will have nothing to worry about when it comes to Social Security or other benefits that they have become accustomed to.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Oh, you bet. 947 WNBF. If you vote for the right candidate in November, you'll have nothing to worry about with respect to your benefits. Airport Road Bob in the town of Maine. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bob. How are you doing?
Great.
Listen, good show this week. I had to go to the VA yesterday. I did try to call in, and I got far enough away that I didn't have any cell service or I couldn't hear the radio anymore. But I will tell you, the AM radio reaches out pretty far.
Yeah, it's quite an impressive AM signal. Sometimes if I'm driving, I still am picking up the WNBF 1290 AM signal almost to Syracuse. That it reaches quite a ways. And even down, if you head towards Scranton, quite a distance. Not actually in Scranton, but pretty close. You can get 1290 AM for some reason for quite a distance. I don't know how they do it. They must be using some sort of jet fuel up there on Ingram Hill.
Well, there's last night was the Town of Maine meeting, so I'd like to give you an update and keep you in the loop because things are getting really interesting. I really wish I could tell you everything, Bob. It's getting crazy. But the Town of Maine is reestablished that they're going to fight this corporate park. They have filed FOIL request against the IDA for any and all paperwork concerning this project from the very beginning. And in tit for tat, the IDA is now FOIL requested all kinds of stuff from the Town of Maine. The IDA has not talked to the Town of Maine in over a month. They're only communicating between lawyers. There is an IDA meeting today. I'm hoping Mr. Solak is there because I have some information for him. Mr. Emke might show up. You never know. He's out on the road. Bob, seriously, I wish I could sit down with you and tell you the details. Because we need all the people to start paying attention. It's going to come down to a lawsuit at some point or a court battle. Town of Maine is repeatedly said that they're going to take this to court, and the IDA is continually decided that they're going to bully their way through this. Like I said, it's just a crazy thing. And if there are any residents out there who don't believe in eminent domain or taking 300 acres from 5 different property owners, most of them have been associated with that property for 30 years or more. They grew up there. They raised their families there. This is wrong. Eminent domain is not used to build a Corva Park. It's used to put a road through, and I understand you know that situation with your grandma's house or your parents' house in JC. I went to JC. I remember going to the ball games there when I was a kid, and now there's a highway. You're right.
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to the government in this country, whether it's for a highway or a lot of other things, government potentially could get its own way in the long run. And that's because residents, no matter who they are, unless it's an enclave of billionaires, say I'll tell you, if Elon Musk lived in the town of Maine on Airport Road, if we were getting a call from Airport Road Elon, then just the fact that he has access to billions of dollars to fight what could be a costly and protracted legal battle, that could potentially change things. But the reality is the people who may want to acquire these properties, I think they're making a calculation. And I don't know, I haven't asked them about this, but I think it's easy to make a calculation that they might have access to more money because they could use taxpayer dollars to fund their legal fight, whereas people who would be directly affected in the towns of Maine and Union would have to use their own money. And I don't know, I haven't looked at your tax returns for the last 10 years, but I don't think you have a lot of extra money along with your neighbors to spend on a costly legal battle.
Correct, and you're right about that. The public money is being used to fight this thing.
Yeah, isn't it ironic that your tax money is being used ultimately for apparently the impending legal battle? So you're effectively, you and your neighbors who might be opposed to the project ultimately are going to wind up to at least a small extent paying for the attorneys who will be used to try to utilize the power of eminent domain if it comes to that. So.
Well, the good news is that paperwork doesn't lie, and all of our FOIL requests are starting to come back and proving that lots of things have been done improperly. Lots of people have been lying. I have a number of FOILs, and I have more coming in that just show the corruption with this whole deal. I'm hoping people in the town of Union show up at their meeting tonight at 7 o'clock at town village hall there. People need to start to get involved. I mean, we got people who are all through the area who are knowledgeable, knows what's going on. We need those people to step up and help us, okay?
All right. Well, keep me posted.
Show.
Thank you.
Great show, and reach out when you have time. I'm telling you, I have stuff that you're going to go crazy with.
All right. Well, I don't want to go too crazy too quickly. Thank you. I want to have a gradual process. Going too crazy too quickly would be unwise. It's 9:53. This is Bob Joseph on your side. WNBF's Binghamton Now.
Mike.
News Radio 1290 WNBF. Bob Joseph.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy?
Probably.
Does that make me crazy?
Undeniably.
Does that make me crazy?
It would appear. WNBF Live. It was just brought to my attention, and I missed this entirely, but here we go. The baseball season's underway. March 20th, and we have a final. This just in. I didn't think we're having baseball on March 20th, but they went and did it. And the American pastime is underway for 2024. The American pastime, the season opener for America's game, was held in Seoul, South Korea. Shohei Ohtani's RBI single capped a 4-run eighth-inning rally in his Dodgers debut, and Los Angeles beat the San Diego Padres 5-2 in the season opener. The game turned when a routine grounder went through the webbing of first baseman Jake Cronenworth. Ohtani went 2 for 5 in his first game since leaving the Los Angeles Angels for a record $700 million 10-year contract with the Dodgers. A crowd of 15,952 was on hand to watch at the Gochok Sky Dome for Major League Baseball's first game in South Korea. And a listener had just called and said, something about, so we have started the American pastime. The new season starts in South Korea. All right. I didn't even know. So there you go. The final. Dodgers defeat the Padres 5-2. Sorry, James. It's 10 o'clock. This is News Radio for America.
Where news breaks first. News Radio 1290 WNBF.
This is News Radio 1290 WNBF News. Rain possibly mixed with snow showers today, high reaching 40. Mostly cloudy tonight, chance of snow showers, low around 20. Partly sunny for Thursday, maybe some snow showers with a high near 32. Supreme Court justices appeared receptive Monday to National Rifle Association claims that a former New York State official violated its free speech rights by pressuring banks and insurance companies to blacklist the group after the deadly school shooting in Parkland, Florida. The NRA is suing former New York State Department of Financial Services Superintendent Maria Volo, who the group says used her regulatory power to economically punish the group for its gun rights stance in violation of the First Amendment. The Biden administration backed some of the NRA's claims, but Volo said she rightly investigated NRA-endorsed insurance policies and didn't use improper pressure. According to the Delaware County District Attorney, George Sidlar of Davenport was sentenced to 30 days in jail on March 19th. Sidlar was convicted of falsely reporting an incident to 911 on January 19th. He was alleged to have called 911 and reported that his neighbor committed a crime, despite knowing that his neighbor had not committed a crime. Proof at trial indicated that the defendant had engaged in this behavior on approximately 24 occasions after being told by the police that any dispute he had with his neighbor was civil and not criminal. At the sentencing hearing on March 19th, the defendant showed no remorse and instead indicated he was not sorry for his criminal behavior. The assistant district attorney argued that when a defendant refuses to accept responsibility for his actions, the only appropriate sentence is incarceration. The judge sentenced Sidlar to 30 days of incarceration. Armed thieves working in broad daylight attacked a security guard and robbed his van of cash from video machine collection boxes. Police say Monday's robbery happened just after noon outside a laundromat in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and the suspect escaped in a van after stealing cash boxes that had been collected from the video machines. Police say the collection van had stopped at the laundromat to pick up a cash box where the armed suspects attacked the guard. They stole cash collection boxes from the security guard's van and fled in their own van. Police released photos of armed, masked, and hooded suspects and a photo of their van. At least 3 vehicles sustained damage from a pothole that opened up near a bridge on Route 17 in Vestal. The trouble developed around the start of Monday's late afternoon commute on an eastbound lane of the expressway. Police said tires blew out on a couple of the vehicles. One car sustained undercarriage damage that caused an oil leak. Drivers told police that vehicles were swerving suddenly as drivers spotted the pothole and tried to avoid it. The State Department of Transportation dispatched crews to assess the problem caused by a missing chunk of concrete. Eastbound traffic on the highway was backed up for more than an hour after the first report of a damaged vehicle. In an email statement, a DOT spokesperson said a lane of Route 17 was closed for about 90 minutes to repair loose concrete on the bridge. A human body was found in a western New York reservoir that supplies drinking water to parts of Rochester, prompting a boil water advisory for several neighborhoods. Workers with the city's water bureau discovered the body Tuesday morning in the Highland Park Reservoir. Officials said the reservoir was immediately disconnected from the public water supply, with plans to drain and clean it before resuming its use. The city says testing showed the water was safe, and the boil water advisory was a precaution. Authorities said police divers removed an adult male body from the water. The circumstances of the death were not immediately clear. The Dunkin' store on Route 434 in Appalachian was demolished on Tuesday to make way for a new unit that will rise on higher ground. Workers with Pritchard Development Corporation of Conklin tore down the old shop in preparation for the construction of a modern, smaller building. Santina Christian acquired 2 Dunkin' locations in Tioga County last month in Appalachian and Owego, and also owns stores in Binghamton, University, and Oneonta. The new Dunkin' shop will have about 2,000 square feet of space, which will be smaller than the one that was demolished. Christian said the building will be about 3 feet higher than the previous store in order to meet Federal Emergency Management Agency requirements. The new Appalachian Dunkin' store is expected to open by the end of June. That's a look at news. For updates on local news, weather, sports, and features, open up the WNBF app and online at WNBF.com. This is News Radio 1290 WNBF.
I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now on this Wednesday morning, the first full day of spring. News Radio, WNBF 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. Coming up this hour, we'll be taking more of your calls. So if you have things to talk about, we will have plenty of time between now and noon, so you can discuss things of interest to people in the Binghamton area and beyond. There are really few limits to what we're able to talk about here at WNBF. Yes, I'm sure there are some limits. There are always limits to everything, as you have come to find out, but we can talk about most things. So we'll be taking your phone calls later, not too long from now. So stick around, and join us as Binghamton Now continues. By the way, we're on the air every weekday morning from 9 to noon. Our commitment is to provide the information that you need, and a lot of information you may not be able to obtain elsewhere. Tomorrow in Endicott, the League of Women Voters of Broome and Tioga Counties will present a special program about the New York State Equal Rights Amendment, which will be on the ballot in November. The event will take place tomorrow evening at 7 at the Union Presbyterian Church at 200 East Main Street in Endicott. It's the church at the corner of East Main Street and Liberty Street. Liberty Avenue, I'm sorry. Not Liberty Street. Liberty Avenue and East Main Street. So they've got parking there. And the event tomorrow night will start at 7. Joining us now to talk a bit about the equal rights ballot proposal that will be voted on in New York later this year is Carla Mahalik, a professor of history, philosophy, and social sciences at SUNY Broome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
How are things at SUNY Broome?
Oh, great. We're really enjoying our classes, and the students are doing well, and they're looking forward to next week because they are off, and I think they need it after working so hard. So it's going well. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm glad you have a few minutes to join us to talk about the proposal that will be on the ballot November 5th in New York State. Give us an overview. Obviously, there already has been some written about it. Not a lot of reporting so far. I'm sure there'll be a lot more over the next few months, but give us an overview on the ballot proposal.
Sure. So the League of Women Voters, at the state level, but of course all of the local leagues, are partnering with an organization called New Yorkers for Equal Rights. And we're among a number of groups in the state partnering with them to promote the Equal Rights Amendment, promote information about it, and to make sure citizens know what will be on their ballot. Most citizens are fully aware that it is a presidential election year, but on the back side of that ballot will be the Equal Rights Amendment. So this is a state amendment to our state constitution, and it is designed to protect all New Yorkers. I don't want to read it verbatim just because we're on the radio and it might be hard to follow, but basically it's going to protect all of us, whether we are aging, which I fall in that category now, whether we have disabilities, whether we are LGBTQI group, race, religion, sex, gender identity, gender expression. We're all protected with this amendment. It's written more broadly than the federal Equal Rights Amendment that actually never passed, and it's to ensure that all New Yorkers are protected.
So some listeners might think, well, gee, we live in America, and we also live in New York State, in my estimation, the greatest state in the USA today, but I'm biased. But so some of our listeners might think, wait, everybody is protected now. Everybody, every man, woman, and child in New York State who's here now or will be coming here in the years ahead already is entitled to equal rights.
Well, that's true. We have a lot of protections in our law due to the fact that we're the best state. I agree with you. I'm a little biased myself, but I'm on board with that assessment. Excuse me. But what many people are worried about, including the state legislature, who passed this both in 2022 and 2023, because that's the process. It has to go through two sessions of the state legislature before it can come out to the citizens for a vote. They believe, and we believe, that we want to enshrine these rights into our state constitution so that depending upon if the winds or how the political winds might change in the near future, these protections will live on because they'll be part of our state constitution. And so that's what we're working for here, is to ensure that these rights are enshrined in our constitution, which is more permanent than a law, as we've seen that other states might be rolling back some rights of people. In New York, we don't want to see that happen.
Do you think this is going to generate any real controversy over the next few months? It seems, at least at first blush, and I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong in the future, but at first blush, seems from what you just described, there could be relatively little opposition to having this approved for New York State. I could see, just based on what I've read in a few other states, that there might potentially be more controversy, but just basically the way New York State is made up, even though there are people who are more conservative in some parts of the state or more progressive or whatever, it just seems basically most of the 20 million or so New Yorkers would generally support what you just outlined.
Yes, and that's very true. There was a 2022 poll of just under 2,000 New Yorkers, and 79% of those polled said they would vote for this amendment. So you're right, there's general sense of approval. With any issue or amendment, there's another side, right? Another thought about or concern about this. But really, we have these protections in law. There's nothing different changing other than the protection will now exist at the state constitutional level. And the hope is other states will take a look at what New York is doing, because as you know, the states are laboratories of democracy, and say, hey, New York did it. We want to do it as well for our citizens in our state. So, yes, there could be some opposition potentially around the protections for women and reproductive health care rights, as there's always concern about that. But this is broader than what many people might assume as far as abortion. This is protecting a woman's right to access health care. And as we've seen across the country, some states have been limiting that kind of health care. So this just ensures that protection, again, at the constitutional level. And right, as you alluded to, the state is fairly left-leaning, and our legislature right now is Democratic. But things can change, as we see. The spectrum can go from one side to the other, and before you know it, we could have a state legislature interested in not continuing these types of protections.
Are you aware of any organized opposition yet to this proposal in New York?
I honestly am not aware of anyone officially, but there has been talk of some mounting a bit of a campaign against it, yes. And so, our goal, the League of Women Voters, our very first priority, besides getting people registered to vote and out to vote, is to educate voters. So we want to provide a very neutral explanation and nonpartisan explanation of the Equal Rights Amendment, and that's what we'll be doing tomorrow night. It is March 21st is our launch event date across the state, in partnership again with New Yorkers for Equal Rights. And at that talk, it's going to be a tea and talk, so we'll have some tea, some scones, and some other nice little treats. And I'm going to first discuss the Equal Rights Amendment as it's written and potentially people's concerns if they have them. And then I'm hoping participants will help us brainstorm how we can educate the broader community.
Well, I'll be interested in seeing how this plays out in the coming weeks and months. And, of course, this program is generally open to all views. So if, as we get closer to November, there is some organized opposition or people with opposing points of view, we would always entertain them on this program, because we want to try to present all sides to any kind of issue, including this. So the event tomorrow night will be in Endicott, 200 East Main Street at the Union Presbyterian Church. I'm familiar with it because I used to live in that neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood with nice people, so... And that church is a good location, too, because there's parking on the side there, on the Liberty Avenue side of the church.
Yes, there's actually parking on both sides, but for those who would need the elevator, you'd want to park on the Liberty side of the church. And then there's no issue with stairs or anything like that.
And it's scheduled to start at 7. How long do you think the event will run?
I think that'll depend on how many people come. I have it slated for an hour and a half, but if we finish sooner, we finish sooner. So 7 to 8:30 is what we have the church reserved for. And, if we get a lot of people who will have a lot to say, well, wonderful. That'll be amazing. Because I think my presentation will only be 10, 15 minutes. And then I'm hoping we can talk about how best to reach out to our community. And again, I just want to remind everybody that this amendment will allow New Yorkers, every New Yorker, to be treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve, and that essentially equality is on the ballot in New York State. So I'm really hoping that people keep that in mind, come out and share with us some tea and scones, and talk more about the Equal Rights Amendment in the state of New York.
SUNY Broome professor Carla Mahalik, thank you for joining us today on Binghamton Now.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. It's 10:21. WNBF Live, I'm Bob Joseph. So what do you think? You have thoughts based on what you just heard? You think you're going to vote in favor of that? Do you think you might vote against it? What are your thoughts? 607-772-1290. You're listening to Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph.
From the Galt Auto Studios, this is WNBF News Radio AM 1290. Also available at 92.1 FM. Shop Toyota, Chevy, BMW, and pre-owned at galtauto.com.
Logical Radio, WNBF Live at 1025 with Bob Joseph, DJ in Binghamton. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bob. I originally called it 1010. You know what they say, 1010 wins. And I heard that lady say about she got her identity stolen or compromised or whatever. So mine was also before, and it was simply, well, it wasn't simply anything. It was vicious and it was ruthless. And when I went to see a medical professional in Johnson City, just a receptionist at the window, you know, you walk up, hi, how may I help you? Hi, I'm DJ. What's your name? My name's, Gladys or whatever. I got a call from a HIPAA officer saying it was not a misstroke of a key. She went in 5 days. We caught her. She got fired. She got fired and everything. But what I immediately did was I changed my bank account, cards, checks, had a nice meeting with Brian at the district attorney, not district attorney, what's Tish James, the one under her, Binghamton Attorney General's office. He met me, gave me all kinds of information, contacted the Johnson City detectives. They called me in, got all my information. So you got to do things before. Unfortunately, the nice lady who called did it, and she was talking about tickets and everything else, I feel so. But, all I can do is tell you about my experience. So I did what I'm going to do. And God help anybody who would try to buy cars and flip cars or flip houses or use because, I always say no weapon formed against me shall prosper. All those who rise up against me shall fall. And then, what was the other thing? Bob, did that ever happen to you or come close to happen to you? Do you know anybody that's happened to?
No. But it happens. They say on the commercials, they say it happens.
Well, when the hearing officer called me, she said, I'm going to send you something in the mail. Don't worry about it. Everything's okay. We're going to give you so many years, 23.
Well, here's the thing. I don't care who calls you on the phone, unless it's me, of course. There's always an exception to every rule. Other than that, though, if somebody calls you on the phone and says something to the effect everything's okay, that's when you better be worried.
Right.
Unless it's somebody you know. If it's somebody like me who's on the side of the people, then if I say it's okay, then it probably is okay. If it's somebody you've never met and they're talking to you on the phone and they say, DJ, in Binghamton, don't worry, everything's okay. At that point, you better start getting worried, because when people start offering these empty reassurances, that's the point where they're starting to go in to try to find a way to either get your money or your motorcycle.
Yeah, that can happen too. But I made a long story short. This was 5 days in November and December when I was going
Yeah, okay.
through,
Yeah, you don't have to go into any further detail. I'm just saying,
Okay.
exercise extreme caution.
Yes, always. And who was the other? What did Town of Dickinson Beverly call about? I wanted to comment on something. She said something. Remember, what was her call?
About, I think, what was it, Social Security or Medicare? Something about benefits. And, you know, some people, she said, I think 3 people are telling her that somehow your benefits are in danger. And I'm saying it's an election year. You hear this every election year, that the other guy, or, excuse me, the other gal, the other candidate is going to take away your benefits. And to which I say, America, the elected officials of America will not be taking away Social Security or Medicare benefits that you're already entitled to. Now, going forward at some point, the system may be adjusted because the way it's currently set up, the system really is unsustainable. But if you're entitled, if you're getting benefits right now, your benefits are not suddenly going to be reduced next year if the wrong person because here's the thing, Congress, I don't care if both houses of Congress are controlled by Republicans or Democrats and the presidency is controlled by the same party, neither big party has the gumption, or for that matter, the audacity to take away Social Security or Medicare benefits. It's not going to happen because it would be tantamount to political suicide. So,
exactly. And to Beverly, I would say this: there's some things called PACs, political action committees, and they put up all the funds. You see those fake, phony, nasty anti-Mark Molinaro commercials. He's going to take our Social Security. He's going to hurt all that. Whatever they say, it's ridiculous. It's silly season.
Yeah, and that's okay. And I'll tell you why it's okay. It's because it pumps much.
You know the truth. That's why it's okay.
Well, not just that, but it also, commercials like that from PACs and even from political candidates, the reason why it's okay is it pumps much needed revenue into desperately, radio and TV stations and cable outlets and newspapers. Look, we need the money. So what I say is, if you're a candidate or if you run a PAC, advertise on radio, TV, cable, newspapers, but especially on radio.
Especially WNBF.
Especially on radio. Hey, and again, because here's what I say about political advertising, and maybe I'm wrong, but probably I'm right on this point. When it comes to political advertising, which is properly protected by the Constitution, freedom of speech, I believe political advertising is good, and I also believe that American voters are smart enough to pay attention to all the fine political advertising they hear on radio or see on TV or in the newspaper or wherever. And billboards, I mentioned billboards. Wherever you see political advertising, pay attention to the messages, even if they seem crazy and totally unhinged. Pay attention to all the messages, but also pay attention to the news. Do your research. Here's my admonition. Don't get all of your voting information from a single source. Get your voting information from all sources, from this program, from other programs. And by the way, not just programs run by people you love and people you agree with all the time. Get some information from people you disagree with, and then use your brain to take in all the information and make a reasoned decision of which candidate will best represent your interests.
And here's what gets me, Bob. I have an 85-year-old aunt, okay? People, they need to get with the time. She's got an iPad, tablet. You shouldn't have to go to the library to do an email. I'm not putting anybody down, but get it. They're $100 for a tablet.
But maybe she's in Shenango County. Maybe where she lives doesn't have good internet access.
Oh, they do.
So, no, there are places. I'm telling you, DJ, I was driving around No, I was being driven around because I'm too important to drive around. I was being driven around for my Upstate America Goodwill Tour last week. That's what I was doing. Right. And there are pockets of upstate New York that have zero connectivity. I'm like, we're out in the middle of nowhere. The GPS isn't working. Right. I want to call the police to get help, and we didn't have any cell service. Because and again, it wasn't my problem because I wasn't driving. I figured, well, we still have at least 10 hours of daylight, so eventually we're going to find civilization. But I'm telling you that there's some parts of New York State that don't have cell service and don't have internet service. So
I experienced that when I was taking KK out to Rochester. To her
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
All right, so don't think
Who is it that's trying to get it all over the state? Is that Kathy Hochul trying to pay for so that everywhere you go has some politician is trying to make it so that everybody gets internet? Who's that? I don't remember. A lot
of elected officials are. A lot of Democrats and Republicans are working. Yes. I say yes too. I say cell service and high-speed internet. They used to be viewed as sort of a luxury. Well, it's 2024. No. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. You need, in my opinion, in New York State or anywhere in the USA today, you need good, reliable cell service, and you need high-speed internet service as much as you need electricity and natural gas and water. So, and don't forget cable TV, because the cable company needs money. So, all right, thanks.
God bless you, Bob.
It's 10:35 at WNBF. I'm not kidding. The cable company needs more money. They just sent me a note last week. They said, oh, by the way, we're changing your service. Just a heads up. You don't need to take any action except keep paying us more every month. And I said, well, that's nice. So I understand. They need more money. They're the cable company, and they need your money more and more so you can continue to provide the fine service that we've come to expect. 607-772-1290. Happy spring. This is Bob Joseph. We'll be taking more calls between now and noon on Binghamton Now.
News Radio 1290
WNBF live in living color on specially equipped radio sets. It's 10:39. Good morning, and it is still spring. We have confirmed with the people who run weather machines that spring has sprung. So I think we are now, let me do the calculation. We are 11 hours, 19 minutes, and 4 seconds into spring. I feel like I'm the guy who does the morning show at WWV, the station that does all the time. I'm looking at the story here at the New York Times print edition, because until the listener mentioned last hour that there was a baseball game, a Major League Baseball game today, I was completely out of the loop. So I had no idea. And it turns out they did. They did play their season opener in Seoul, South Korea. So it caught me by surprise. I didn't pay attention. So sorry. Very I know, very strange, but it's true. They did. As far as opening up the Major League Baseball season in South Korea, I don't know. I mean, the listener that I spoke with off the air was, I think, kind of surprised that that's where the national pastime would start things off. But I guess we know that U.S. sports leagues want to expand their reach globally, not because they like people in other countries. It's because they need more money, just like the cable company. So whether it's the NFL or Major League Baseball or any other professional sport, they'll play. I don't know. I don't think they've ever played a U.S. Major League Baseball game in China. But honestly, if the commissioner, if Rob, the baseball commissioner, thinks that it's good for the Major League Baseball operation, and good, of course, for the team owners, which the commissioner works for the team owners. So if he thinks that Major League Baseball could make a few more $1 billion by holding some games in China, they probably would. So, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying it's business. It's, some people look at baseball or football or hockey or NBA or college basketball. Oh, those are just sports. No. Don't kid yourself. They're not just sports. They're big, big businesses where people make big stacks of cash. So that's why the people who own these teams are always smiling. Not so much because they like sports. It's because the money keeps flowing in. Oh, hello. Welcome back, sports fans, to Yankee Stadium. This year's small Coke will be $49.99. If you'd like a larger 10-ounce Coke, that'll be $79.99. Yes, it's business. And if people are willing to pay, why wouldn't you? If you are a Major League team owner, why wouldn't you pay what you can get away with? I think that's the point. So, all right, let's take a call. See what the people have to say. It's 10:43. Hi, you're on the air on WNBF. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Is this me, Bob?
Afraid so.
Vic from the Forks.
Why do we have that annoying echo?
Oh, let me take you off speaker. Is that better?
Oh, much better. Well, now it's just a slight echo, but it's more palatable.
Oh, hey, listen, I wasn't going to call because I didn't have much to say today, but then you mentioned the Women's Republican Party Club in Tioga and Broome, and they're having a forum tonight, I believe it is, online about fracking with carbon monoxide, or CO2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they better not be fracking with carbon monoxide.
Right.
Even you, I think, Victor, would have to oppose that. Fracking with carbon monoxide? No, I don't think so. No. So tell me about this forum, because for some reason they didn't let me know this was happening. How can people participate?
Oh, it's online. You have to go on to the Zoom meeting. I don't have that information in front of me because I dumped it, because I knew if they knew it was me calling, they would hang up, because I've been to plenty of their meetings. And the sad part about it is they're presenting it as a scientific forum to ban fracking with CO2 in New York. And it's anything but scientific. It's just more fear-mongering. But that's just one of the reasons I called. The main reason I called, I just got back from the grocery store. And I shop for quality foods. And I was looking at their prime ribs, beef burgers or whatever. They're made out of prime rib. And I looked at the package for the sell-by date, and there was no sell-by date. Instead, there was 3 sentences saying, warning, do not buy this food based on color. Color does not guarantee freshness. Now, that's how I used to always shop, look at the color, until today. And then I read further down into the paragraph, and it said this sell-by date was April 6th. And for me, that's a long way out.
Well, maybe they sealed it appropriately. Sometimes they use like a special thing to suck out most of the oxygen, so it'll prolong the useful life of the product.
No, Bob, it was still the same way as always. And it got me to thinking, wow, is this what they're doing with the chemicals that they're not using for fracking in New York? They're preserving the meat because people can't afford it, and they're prolonging the shelf life and hopes to sell it? You know, it's all a conspiracy theory, of course, but how did it go from sell within 3 days to sell within 3 weeks?
I don't know. It's just like, say, milk. You go and get milk sometimes. You see the sell-by or best-by date or whatever. You say, how can milk possibly be still good to drink until that date? And, hey, I mean, obviously, dairy companies wouldn't lie to you.
Well, I asked the store manager this question, you know, what I just said. And we got further into discussion. He couldn't explain the answer to me. And
well, the bottom line is it's good till, would you say, April 6th?
I ended up putting it back.
Well, what you do, you get some meat, and if you're not sure of its safety, you just cook it an extra 20 minutes, and probably if there's anything bad in it, it'll be killed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whatever you do, and you see at a lot of restaurants these days, because they've hired attorneys to tell them how to avoid litigation. So you see at many restaurants some sort of fine print thing on the menu. It says if you eat raw or undercooked meat or seafood products, you'll get really sick, maybe. And so they put those little disclaimers on, so in case you get really sick, you can't come back and say, gee, if only you had cooked the food properly, I probably would be able to listen to Binghamton Now.
I got the answer for him on why they closed the concrete store, too, because I asked him, the Conklin Ave store, and he told me the losses were greater than the profits.
Oh, I'm sure. But here's I don't doubt it, but here's my question to you, Vic, from the Forks. Why would the corporate operatives at Wise in Pennsylvania, why would they not tell us that? Why do they insist on secrecy when they close stores? All they said was something like they made a difficult decision. They never said why. Why not just tell us? I mean, what I understand about stores, and this is true of any supermarket or any other retailer, it's a business. You got to make a profit, a good enough profit to make it worth your while. So if that's what happened at 307 Conklin Avenue on the south side, why didn't they just say, so we ran the numbers, we weren't making enough money to continue the operation. Sorry, we're a business. We need to make a reasonable profit. So sorry, we closed 307 Conklin Avenue. Go to one of our other Binghamton stores and just tell us why the secrecy.
He told me the reason. I don't know why he didn't tell the press, except for maybe has to do with community togetherness or whatever. But he told me the reason was people were coming in, filling up grocery carts with groceries, top-end groceries, walking out the door, and they're not allowed to stop them. They can't stop
Well, of course they can't stop them. No company, whether it's Wise or Wegmans or any other company that wants to avoid protracted litigation, is going to tell their employees, try to stop shoplifters. You know that. There's no company in America that should advise their employees to try to stop shoplifters. If your employee winds up getting hurt or killed trying to stop someone stealing a $20 package of meat, it's going to cost you maybe millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I didn't write the law, and I'm not by nature litigious, but that's the way it is.
The laws are too liberal.
Oh, it's not the laws being too liberal. It's the criminals are being too brazen.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be so brazen if the laws weren't written.
No, this is America. This is America. We've come a long way since Adam 12, Vic.
Yeah, so in other words, like AOC says, Alexandra Cortez there, like she says, they're going into these stores to feed their families. Grocery stores might be true, too. But when you see them running out of stores with color TVs, fur coats, and sneakers, they're not feeding their families. They're feeding their wallets.
Well, and maybe selling the stuff to get enough money for tomorrow's drugs. I don't know. I really don't know because I don't live in that type of... my circle of acquaintances is so limited, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I'm not judging. I'm just saying, well, the only thing I'll say about stealing is it's wrong. So whether you have to feed your family or feed a drug habit, my advice is don't steal. Get help, but don't steal. But I'm not judging you. I'm just saying don't steal. If you have, in recent years, figured the only way you can feed your family or deal with your ongoing substance abuse issue, the only way to deal with it is to steal, then find a better way. Get some help. It's 10:52. This is Bob Joseph. You're listening to WNBF.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
Coming up today from noon to 3, Dan Bongino, live on News Radio, WNBF. It's 10:54, and that is 6 before the hour at News Radio, WNBF, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Stay connected with us using the WNBF app. Here's the forecast. Spring has sprung, America. Cloudy today, snow showers this morning. Then, in the afternoon, rain mixed with snow showers. High 40, snow accumulation today on the first full day of spring, less than an inch. Tonight, partly cloudy. There will be scattered snow showers early, low 20. Partly sunny and breezy tomorrow. Slight chance of snow showers in the morning, high 32. Partly sunny Friday with a slight chance of rain and snow, high 40. By the way, temperatures will be milder next week. Right now, it's 39, that's 4 Celsius at News Radio WNBF. Now, do not be alarmed. This is not designed to alarm you. It's simply designed to inform you. So do not be alarmed, but be aware. According to the National Weather Service, dangerous snow squalls are possible late this morning into the afternoon. Snow squalls expected to develop and moving across most of upstate New York and northeast Pennsylvania. Snow squalls reduce visibilities to near zero at times, with rapid snow accumulations and blowing snow. This will make for very dangerous travel, especially on interstates and Route 17, where you're no way going to be able to see that giant crater. I mean, even the other day when it was nice and sunny and snow-free, people could not avoid the giant crater. So, anyway, slow down. If you see snow squalls, just drive appropriately. According to this guidance, the snow squalls will affect the Twin Tiers, including Binghamton and Towanda and Montrose, through the I-81 and I-88 corridor, and it could be mainly between 1 and 3 this afternoon. So if you're going to be out traveling, just be careful. You could adjust your schedule, and that's say I have some things, news reporting, I need to do this afternoon, but I'll be keeping a close eye on things. So if it looks like snow squalls are passing through, I'll just delay because they're not probably going to last that long. It's 10:57. You're listening to WNBF Live with Bob Joseph.
This is News Radio 1290 AM, WNBF Binghamton. Now on 92.1 FM, W221 EJ Binghamton, a Town Square media station.
Where news breaks first. News Radio 1290 WNBF.
This is News Radio 1290 WNBF News. Rain today, possibly mixed with snow showers, high near 40. Mostly cloudy tonight, chance of snow showers, low around 20. Partly sunny Thursday with a slight chance of snow showers, high near 32. At least 3 vehicles sustained damage from a pothole that opened up near a bridge on Route 17 in Vestal. The trouble developed around the start of Monday's late afternoon commute in an eastbound lane of the expressway. Vestal police received calls from 3 drivers who reported their vehicles were disabled after striking the massive hole. An absorbent material was spread on the spilled oil on Pearl Street near the end of the exit ramp. Drivers told police that vehicles were swerving suddenly as drivers spotted the giant pothole and tried to avoid it. The State Department of Transportation dispatched crews to assess the problem caused by a missing chunk of concrete. Eastbound traffic on the highway was backed up for more than an hour after the first report of a damaged vehicle. In an emailed statement, a DOT spokesperson said a lane of Route 17 was closed for about 90 minutes to repair loose concrete on the bridge. The state of New York is moving to update its fracking ban. Hydraulic fracturing usually involves injecting huge amounts of water deep underground to break layers of rock and release natural gas. A Texas company wants to use liquefied carbon dioxide instead. Southern Tier Solutions say the carbon captured from power plants is a cleaner way of extracting fossil fuels. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins says New York doesn't have much of an appetite for fracking of any kind. The expanded ban passed in the state assembly and is up for a Senate vote this week. On March 18th, officers of the Cortland County Sheriff's Office stopped a vehicle at the pit stop located on Route 11 in the town of Cortlandville for insufficient turn signal. During the traffic stop, officers determined that the operator, Eric Schubert, was operating the vehicle with a suspended driver's license. He and his passengers, Tyler Conkling and Adam Simpson, were found to be in possession of 566 bags of fentanyl, approximately 46 grams of meth, 115 grams of Molly, and 11.5 grams of cocaine, among other illegal drugs, and a digital scale, packaging material, and an undisclosed amount of U.S. currency. Conkling was in possession of a loaded ghost gun, which is an unserialized handgun. The drugs had an approximate street value of $22,540. All 3 were arrested and charged with 4 counts of criminal possession of controlled substance in the 3rd degree, criminal possession controlled substance in the 5th degree, 2 counts of criminal using drug paraphernalia in the 2nd degree, and possession of synthetic drugs, local law. Contraceptives will be available without a prescription in New York under an order signed by state health officials. The order signed Tuesday is part of New York Governor's mission to bolster reproductive rights at a time when it is restricted in other parts of the country. Trained pharmacists will be able to hand out self-administered hormonal contraceptives, including oral birth control pills and the patch, even if the patients don't have prescriptions. Participating pharmacists must complete a training developed by state education officials before they can dispense. Hochul's office said the service could be made available in the next several weeks. The Delaware County District Attorney announced that Misty Cintron of Sydney was convicted of 2 Class B felonies on March 18th. For the first indictment, she was alleged to have sold fentanyl to an undercover police informant. The second indictment was the result of sheriff's investigators recovering several controlled substances during the execution of that search warrant. Citrin pleaded guilty to one count of criminal sale of a controlled substance in the third degree and criminal possession of a controlled substance in the third degree, possession with intent to sell. Prior to pleading guilty, she admitted to selling fentanyl in the village of Sydney on December 30th of 2022 and possessed fentanyl with the intention of selling it at her home on November 1st, 2023. She is anticipated to be sentenced 3.5 years in state prison, to be followed by 1 year of post-release supervision for her conviction of criminal sale of a controlled substance. Donald Trump is hurtling toward a critical deadline in his most costly legal battle to date. If the former president doesn't come up with a financial guarantee by Monday, New York's Attorney General could start the process of collecting on the more than $454 million Trump owes the state in a civil fraud lawsuit. Trump's lawyers are trying to stop that from happening. They have asked the court to put collection efforts on hold while he appeals the staggering verdict. The presumptive Republican presidential nominee failed to get a bond for the full amount, what would have the dual purpose of stopping the clock on collection during his appeal and ensuring the state gets its money if he were to lose. That's a look at news. For updates on local news, weather, sports, and features, open up the WNBF app and online at WNBF.com. This is News Radio 1290 WNBF.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
This is the real radio show, the one operated by a person who cares. Bob Joseph live on WNBF.
Can you brush your shoes? Stand before the mirror. Can you comb your hair? Grab your coat and laugh. And you walk West Street's trying to remember all the wild night breezes in your very ever. And everything looks so complete when you're walking out on the street, and the wind catches your feet, sends you flying, crying.
Is it going to be a mild night? I doubt it, but it could be a wild night. We'll see what happens. Good morning. 607-772-1290 is our number, and we'll take some more calls to find out what folks are thinking. We now go to the town of Union. Jim in Endwell. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Bob. I didn't catch a lot of the conversation with the gentleman who was talking about the shelf life on meat products. However, I was in the food industry for 40 years, and I had extensive training in meat safety, food handling, etc. And what they do is, in those trays that you see with like the bubble dome over it, that the shelf life is like...
Oh, don't they shoot in some carbon dioxide in there to make it look pretty?
What they do, actually, is they suck out all of the ambient air, and they inject it with an 80-20 mixture of nitric oxide and oxygen, and that slows down the growth of the pathogens. And it's not like something that's haphazardly done. When you have a certain product, like, let's say, sausage, for instance, you have to do like very extensive testing where you have like maybe 50 trays, and you have to do it, after 2 days, after 3 days, after 4 days, and so on and so forth, to find out what the shelf life is. And it's done all under the watchful eye of the USDA inspectors, because they're at these plants every single day. And so I just wanted to kind of fill you in a little bit, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't catch the fellow's whole conversation. But my
original point when I was talking with him, that they have a way to suck out most of the oxygen. So that point was pretty accurate.
Right, they take out the regular air, and they put in an 80-20 mixture of oxygen and nitric oxide.
Now, what about these kids who are playing around with irradiating their their beef. Like there were some kids out of Rochester that had started, I think, about 20 years ago, and what they were doing, they were selling this irradiated fresh ground beef. What was that all about?
I do not know about that.
Oh, okay.
But
well, I mean, I know it's not new. I just looked up because I know when that company announced it, and I can't believe that it's now been more than 2 decades. At first, when they announced it, I thought, oh, that's strange. And then I did some research about how that works, but it apparently must be, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they made the announcement back in 2002. Here's another thing, since you know about beef, what about this steak tartare? Is that good?
It's nowadays I wouldn't be afraid, because everything is tested so much, and it really is, although people might not believe it, the food industry is really very strict. So what the problem is with that is if there's E. coli on the outside of the piece of meat, when it gets ground up, then it's ground into the meat. That's why they say to cook hamburger, till it's definitely cooked. Same with the steak tartare. I mean, 40 years ago, I used to work at a place, and a lady would come in and get her hamburger, and before you'd wrap it, she'd want to take some and eat it right there at the meat counter. So, I don't really, it's not for me.
Yeah. What about horse meat? Are they selling that anymore?
I couldn't tell you.
Because they used to. Were you around here in Binghamton? Were you around here in Binghamton when they were selling the horse meat?
Yeah, I was maybe a young teenager, adolescent. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember this guy. He was selling it. He set up his horse meat shop over on the south side.
I don't think it did very well.
No, it didn't. It did. But at first, it was all the rage because the price of beef had been soaring. So, the ground horse and horse steaks were being sold at a much lower price. And I, to my knowledge, have never consumed it. You never know, by the way. A lot of times, I've never eaten horse meat or, those things that might be popular in other cultures or other countries. Well, I always hesitate and say, well, I've never knowingly, because who knows for sure? We all eat at a lot of places, and who's to say? At one time there was a rumor that some hamburger chain was mixing in kangaroo meat in their burgers, and I don't know if any of it was true, but it was certainly something that people talked about. I'm fascinated. I'm just fascinated by all aspects of food handling and processing, especially on a large scale, which we have to have in this country because there's so many people that need to be able to afford food. But to me, it really is fascinating whether it's how beef and other meat products are handled before they get to the supermarket, or for that matter, anything else. It's incredible to sometimes watch some of the videos that are online about how it's all done. It's fascinating to me.
Well, whenever I hear those rumors like the kangaroo meat, I am quite leery of them because from working with the USDA, I know how strict everything is, and it seems to me like it would be close to impossible for something like that to happen. But, hey, you never know, right?
Well, that's true. You never know. Let's face it. Some people will always try to cut corners at some point. Maybe they don't do it all the time, but maybe because of a set of circumstances, either a supply shortage or whatever, or cost issues, and maybe they just temporarily, let's face it, I've reported on stories, whether it's been about meat handling or dairy processing or whatever. Occasionally there are exceptions. There occasionally are bad players, but that's true even in radio. I've heard of radio talk show hosts who've done bad things. So
anyway, I just wanted to add that little bit to the conversation.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. Bye-bye.
11:17 at WNBF. Huh? See, this is a place where you learn a few things. So what I just learned now is it might be safe for me to have steak tartare. steak tartar. I don't know. Tartar. I had the chance to order some the other night, and I instead chose something more traditional. But I remember having a conversation with a woman with the New York State Health Department back when they were allowed to talk to reporters and speak freely before the gag orders were imposed by the people who run New York State. She worked in, of all places, the press office for the State Health Department. She was always helpful. That's back when the State Health Department was allowed to be helpful to journalists. So you know it was a long time ago. But we were having, I would say, a pretty open conversation about a lot of things, including food safety. And in fact, I think the reason I was talking with her in the first place was a story about E. coli or something involving some sort of health department advisory regarding meat. Maybe it wasn't E. coli. It could have been something else. I don't know. Salmonella. Who knows? But the health department had put out an advisory about something that New Yorkers needed to know. And then I got talking with her, and this is in what would certainly be considered the off-the-record part of the conversation. And we were talking about some people, because, it was definitely the health department put in the news release, hey, if you're going to be serving beef, ground beef, make sure that it's properly cooked up to the appropriate temperature so you and your family will be safe. We got talking about people who enjoy eating undercooked or sometimes raw meat, and she said that her husband on a regular basis would eat steak tartare in front of her, and she would never eat it, but she said he loved it, and we had a good laugh. But of course, you would not say that on the air because it would be unseemly for somebody with the State Health Department press off to say on the air, oh, my spouse, despite all of our news releases and guidance to healthy eating, enjoys an occasional steak tartare entree. But still, I got a kick out of it. That's back. See, that shows you how old I am. Back in the day when New York State government press office people were allowed to speak freely. Until that got shut down. Now, if they release anything, it has to go through Kathy Hochul's people, pretty much. 11:20, 607-772-1290. Hope we haven't spoiled your lunch. First day of spring with Binghamton Now.
From the Galt Auto Studios, this is WNBF News Radio AM 1290. Also available at 92.1 FM. We sell the ultimate driving machine at Galt BMW.
News Radio 1290 WNBF. Bob Joseph.
Round by the wind, thrown down in a spin. I gave you love. I thought that we had made it to the top. I gave you all I had to give. Why did it have to stop? You've blown it all sky high by telling me a lie without a reason why. You've blown it all sky high.
WNBF Live, 11:24 with Bob Joseph. Back to the phones. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Bob at Chenango Fork. I heard you talking about horse meat.
Yeah.
Well, back in the late 60s, there was a market on Shenango Street, but also around the corner from where I lived, there was a market that was there for years called Panda Foods, which was a meat place. Well, after the original owner got out of there, the other market on Shenango Street took it over, and they were selling horse meat there.
Well, yeah, because people couldn't afford the beef.
And it was called Binghamton Beef Incorporated. And I used to deliver newspapers there, and all the guys would want my dollar bills because they used to play liar's poker all the time in there. And it operated for a lot of years until a guy torched the building one night or whatever.
No, a guy torched the building?
Yes.
Oh, I can't believe that would happen in Binghamton.
Oh, yeah, this was years ago.
Oh, years ago. Okay, well, that kind of thing doesn't happen as much anymore.
It was in the 60s.
Yeah, well, times were different
but I don't
then.
know if they torched it in the 70s. I can't really remember, but the guy was caught. My mother actually saw him going up the street with the gas cans and stuff like that. It was sort of a stupid story, but the butcher shop, like I say, originally was called Panda Foods, and a guy named Peter Dazzi owned it. And as kids, during the hot summer days, he let us go in the coolers, the big coolers they had there, stuff like that.
Really?
But it was pretty unique, like I say, and he sold meat all over. He used to take us kids down on the corner of Lewis Street. There used to be the Armour Meat Company. And he would take us in there when he would buy meat and stuff, and they used to slice off a big chunk of bologna to give to all his kids and stuff like that, But it's just a memory of growing up on the north side of Binghamton.
Yeah, well, those were good times.
And tons of little grocery stores all over the neighborhood. I bet there was 15 within the north side block there. From Potter's to Lakes Market.
Well, Al Libas had a store.
Yes.
Al Libas, and then he parlayed being a popular grocery store owner on the north side. He parlayed that into a political power. He became the mayor.
Yeah, it was on the corner of Doubleday.
Yeah. Wasn't it like AJ's?
Yes, and you know who took over after that, Libas, was Bob Pornbeck.
Oh, did he? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Bob Pornbeck was just here a few weeks ago, here at the studio.
He still owns the building, I'm pretty sure. He owns a lot of buildings
Yeah.
through there.
Oh, yeah.
But, he took it over. Him and his father ran that, I think. And I'm pretty sure he probably bought it from Libas back in those days. But there was a lot of them all over. There was one on Ansbury, there was one on Bevere Street, there was two on State Street. They're all over. Every little mom and pop little store had them.
I know. Well, we had butchers, and we had bakers, we had candlestick makers, we had everything.
Yep. And one other quick story, you were talking about people stealing food from Giant Market. Then I'm mowing lawns on the east side of Binghamton, and I turn around the corner, going up the Elite, and this guy starts running next to me. Give me a ride. I go, for what? I look, and there's 3 Giant employees chasing the guy.
Well, it's just like here in downtown Binghamton. People steal stuff. I won't tell you from where. You probably can figure it out. So people steal stuff from there, and then they come running past here at the station. What am I supposed to do? It's like, you got some guy from the store chasing them and on the phone with the police, and then there's some guy who stole like a $22 shirt. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? It's like, I'm just a reporter. I don't have any law enforcement power, but it happens.
Well, the old library there, the new library, which used to be a Giant, I had a friend that worked in that area at a bar. He said, guys were always coming in, pulling steaks out of their pants to buy a steak, which they used to steal from the Giant Market there,
Oh, yeah, those were good times. I remember when they had a Giant Market, and then I'll tell you what, the Akels just shut it down.
Yeah, the Akel, well, they're involved in other stuff nowadays. I mean,
well, yeah, they have, they own real estate. Did you know that?
You know, they own real estate all over.
All over. I'm serious. Not just in New York, but all over, man.
They own a lot of land in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they're developing out in California.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be surprised how big they are.
Oh, yeah, George's two sons are out there in California, San Francisco, actually.
Yeah.
You know? But, yeah, it's amazing. You know, and people don't realize there's a lot of money people in this area.
Oh, yeah, there certainly is. I mean, people are
developed all over the country.
Yeah,
And
if people only knew.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yep.
So here's the thing. I see the guy. I was looking up the story about this guy. They said in the paper he was convicted of arson. I'm not going to mention his name because for all I know, I mean, now he's... Don't say it. Yeah, exactly. He's from the north side. So don't mention his name because by now, I'm sure he was convicted, but by now he could have done his time and maybe he's listening. So I'm not going to mention his name because that was many years ago.
I think he got out and he got charged again with something.
No.
I don't know. Now, what year was that? Does it tell you?
Well,
I mean, was it the 70s?
Yeah. Well, yes. This one arson conviction was in 1972, but it also mentions in the same story about the Binghamton beef fire. Because, and it mentions who owned the market. I always called him the Horse King.
The guy that owned the market?
Yeah, because he opened up a separate store where he sold just horse meat over on the south side, too.
Oh, he did. Well, he's the original owner of that building was the North Side Market.
Yeah. So anyway, those were good times. I mean, times were simpler back then.
Yeah, I never had horse meat, but
No, I never did knowingly. But the thing that I thought, if they were going to do that, I thought it would be in poor taste if they ever tried to get, if they did like a radio or TV ad campaign and had Mr. Ed as the main spokesperson.
Yeah, right.
You see what I'm saying?
He's dead. They probably cut him up for horse meat.
Oh. All right. Well, now that we have, I'm sure PETA is calling in on line 3. So, okay. Thank you for the memories.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Obviously, somebody from People for the Ethical Treatment of Horses. It's like, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just stating a fact. I'll tell you why it happened. And it's only because beef got to be so expensive that some people just couldn't afford to buy New York strip anymore. They had to, beef was just going, and that's, by the way, and not to make it political, I'm just saying, who was president at the time? You're right. Richard Milhous Nixon. I only point that out to you people, and who you people are, who blame the president at any given time for the high price of gas and the high price of food. So just like back in the 70s when Richard Milhous Nixon had nothing to do with the price of beef and the price of gas, just now, well, I think it was Joe's fault. Yeah. Everything is Joe's fault. Well, that big crater on Route 17 the other day where the vehicles were damaged, I bet that was something Biden did. Oh, okay. 607-772-1290. The things we talk about on Binghamton Now.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was
WNBF, Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph. Continuing. Martin in Binghamton, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bob. Yeah, I'm extracting this from Sunday's paper. Companies haven't paid income tax. And this ties in also with 3 local commercials that you see about Mark Molinaro. One woman from Vestal unloading groceries says she sometimes doesn't have enough. Another one about a vet, and he's working hard in his garage there, and that he's voted for billions of dollars to corporate entities that aren't paying taxes. And just a couple quick facts here: the top statutory rate has declined from 51% in '86. Under Reagan to 21%, a minus 35%. The typical CEO compensation package reached $14.8 million compared to $77,000 for the average worker. That's 183 times to the person on the floor. I mean, back in the 70s, whatever, it used to be 4 or 5 times. Yeah, sure, they need to make more, but 148 times. My God. And one company here, I'll end it here, the report also names Duke Energy. The utility paid $181 million to top executives over compared to a minus $1.2 billion. And he says, well, we're not evading taxes. We're just going to pay it later and down the road here. $1.2 billion that they can get away with not going into the coffers for us. And I can't get away with not paying my taxes.
Well, you could.
Well,
I'm not saying you should. I'm saying if you hire a good tax attorney, you'd be able to get away with it for a while. That's how the system works. If you don't want to pay the taxes that you're supposed to be paying, whether you're an individual or a company, you just hire a very good tax attorney. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
I see the story. By the way, I just looked up the story that you were referencing, so I had missed it because I was staying away from the news for a few days, so I see the story now that you referenced. Boy, what a bunch of bad actors. Look at those companies.
Yes, Tesla, Netflix, Ford.
Yep.
Each reportedly spent more on companies or compensation to their 5 highest paid executives than they paid in federal income taxes. And
here's what I don't understand. So Netflix, so they keep raising prices. In that sense, Netflix is quite a bit like the cable company where they keep raising prices. So according to this article, it claims Netflix, which takes more and more money each month from all of its subscribers, a lot more money than, say, 5 or 10 years ago, says Netflix paid its 5 top executives $652 million between 2018 and 2022. What do those guys do? So the 5 top executives, that's not all executives. Netflix, their 5 top executives were paid more than $650 million between 2018 and 2022. What do they do for the money? Just, keep saying, well, why don't you raise the monthly charge again? We haven't raised the monthly charge in a few weeks. Why don't we do that? Why? And I'm not saying that they're bad people, because I'm sure they're great people, but, what about good people like us? We're good people too. We're not made of money. Plus we pay our taxes.
Yeah, I was on the phone last night for quite a while with Spectrum, and it's just got raised again, another 10.
Oh, I saw. They sent me a note. No, they keep sending me notes, and they always say thanks. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the note here. Somebody wadded it up and threw it in the garbage. But before I wadded it up and threw it in the garbage, I distinctly remember reading a part, something like, hey, thanks. Thanks for being a customer of the cable company. Just thought you'd like to know. We're changing your service. You don't need to do anything except pay us more money. And I'm just like, how about this? You keep my service the same and just charge me what you did 5 years ago, and then we'll be good. But they won't do it.
Yeah, well, I got a similar letter from the press, too, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I got one of those, too.
Yeah.
You know, I keep, and they're effusive. They're effusive with their praise. You know, thank you for supporting local journalism. And I wish if it was a real person, because they never put their phone number. Did you notice every time that the press sends you one of these things about their new improved higher rates, the person, first of all, I don't even know if it's a real person. Could be real or it could be AI. But they never leave their phone number. So if you want to discuss things with them, there's no way to get in touch.
Yeah, I had to scour one of my older bills because they even changed the format of the bills with Spectrum.
They did that too. You know, probably one of those high-priced executives who gets paid millions of dollars a year came up with a new format for the bills, and he probably did that in January and said, "Okay, I'm done for the year.
Yeah.
Where's my holiday bonus?"
Yeah, and the guy was in Texas, and but they get it. They get it free. I mean, I'm pretty sure, but he was empathetic, but still, I said, this is it. I can't do this anymore. This is just ridiculous. I'm going some other route, and I like my HBO and Showtime. I've been spoiled at it for a long time. But,
did you hear what the newspaper did now?
No.
Gannett.
Well, they raised the rates.
Well, of course, they're always going to raise the rates. That's not news. They're always raising.
I got the letters the same week.
Yeah. No, I mean that's not news because that's a given. I don't know how many times a year. It seems like they're always raising the rates. Oh, and then throwing in bonus sections, and they charge you $6 for a bonus section you never wanted. It's like, I don't need that. That's not $6 worth of journalism. It's not even 2 cents worth of journalism. And then on your bill, they charge you an extra $12 a month for dubious special sections. It's like, and then people have the audacity to complain about a Big Mac being worth $12, at least the price of a Big Mac being $12. And you say, well, at least with a Big Mac, you get something to eat, something of substance. And then these special sections in the newspaper, it has nothing local. It has nothing about Court Street or Washington Avenue. But so here's what they did. Here's what Gannett, which runs our newspapers, even though they print them in New Jersey, they just announced that they're dropping AP. What kind of a news organization would drop the Associated Press?
Oh, my God.
Yep, starting next Monday. I was just thumbing through today's paper. 3 of the big articles, three of the big articles in this A section are from AP. They said, oh, no, we can't afford AP anymore, so we're dropping them. I mean, from the beginning, from April 1904, when Larry Bud Kilmer started the paper, they've always had AP, I think. And then starting next Monday, they won't.
Is UPI still in existence?
No. Well, UPI, technically UPI exists, but it's not a major player. It's mainly just kind of a pared down news service, so it's not viable anymore. So the New York Times broke the story. It said 2 major American newspaper chains, Gannett and McClatchy, plan to drastically curtail their business relationships with the Associated Press. And Gannett says that starting Monday, it will no longer use articles, photos, and videos from the AP in its hundreds of publications, including the iconic Press and Sun Bulletin newspaper. Kristen Roberts, who is the chief content officer of Gannett, she said in a memo, she said, between USA Today and our incredible network of more than 200 newsrooms, we create more journalism every day than the AP. What she didn't mention is Gannett doesn't have newsrooms in a lot of cities, including Binghamton. They shut down their newsroom. The Press and Sun Bulletin doesn't have a newsroom. Their reporters work out of their apartments with a laptop and a cell phone. and a pencil. You know,
Yeah, I'm
see,
gonna
that's
go
to
the
me
weekend.
that reflects a problem. If Kristen Roberts really is the chief content officer of Gannett, she should write in her company memo when they're going to open up a newsroom in Binghamton, because they closed the one in Binghamton, and it's no wonder. It's no wonder the newspaper doesn't have much local content. How can you expect their reporters and their editors to do a lot of reporting when you won't even give them a newsroom?
Nope, not at all.
And people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm not the crazy one. I'm the person who's on, they should be thanking me. The people here at Gannett in New York State who still work at papers here in Binghamton, Ithaca, Elmira, Poughkeepsie, Corning, Westchester, Rochester, and so on, they should be thanking me for being a voice of reason and advising the corporate bean counters to start hiring reporters and start hiring photographers and hiring editors and get their newspapers in New York State back into fighting shape. I'm on their side. The people that I have a problem with Gannett aren't the local people. They're doing hard work, and they don't even get a newsroom. At least I do hard work here, but I still have a newsroom.
Yeah, well, I don't need much to get right off this phone here. Your show.
I know.
I don't. Those are free.
I know.
Anyway, I don't. I'm cutting down here.
Well,
I can't do it no more.
Don't judge me, but I'm still, every month, I am so old-fashioned, every month I still write a check to the Press and Sun Bulletin newspaper. I'm that old-fashioned, and I was talking with a cop yesterday here in Binghamton after work. He was doing a walking beat downtown, and he pointed to me and said, "Oh, you've got a newspaper, the Press and Sun Bulletin." I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, and we started talking about the state of news locally and nationally. And I said, "Yeah, I still get it. I still pay a monthly fee, even though I don't know how often, if it's once or twice a year, they keep raising the price with less local content." I said, I still am supporting the concept, because here's what I think, Martin. I think someday Gannett is going to hire a CEO who actually loves newspapers.
Well, he'd have to be a Mega Million winner or Powerball or somebody like you and I that, is old school. I mean, I still have right in the other room here, I was looking yesterday, articles from Richard Reeves, Mike Royko,
and remember our local writers, the writers like Dave Rossi and the sports writer John Fox. And
who was the other guy?
Well, Tom Cawley had a column.
Tom Cawley.
Jeff Glatsky was a great business writer for so many years. Jim O'Dotto, George Basler. Connie McKinney is still writing a column, I think every other Tuesday. Tom Pacciano, he does a column still. But what they need is hire back these people. Tom Wilbur, he's still a local. I mean, he's around here. Hire these people. Say, you know what, we're going to do an experiment. We're going to select one small market newspaper in the USA Today, and we are going to give them a newsroom. We're going to staff it with 20 reporters and 3 photojournalists and a couple of editors, and we're going to do an experiment to see if more people will buy our paper. And you know what, It'll work. More people will buy their paper. Yeah. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, Gannett could afford to conduct that experiment. Just pick one newspaper at random, say at random in Binghamton, New York, pick out the Press and Sun Bulletin and say, we are committed to the next decade of bringing back traditional journalism and staffing the paper like it used to be as an experiment to see if more people will subscribe to our paper. And not necessarily the print paper. Maybe here's an idea. Just drop the print paper, save all the money that you spend printing it in New Jersey and then trucking it every night up to Binghamton to the Court Street hub, save all that money, stop printing the newspaper tomorrow, and then plow all the savings into opening up a downtown Binghamton newsroom and having enough reporters. Yes, hire a business editor. Hire more general assignment journalists. Hire somebody to work the police beat, an education writer, a business. I mean, come on. Give us what we used to have. WNBF Live at 11:55 with Bob Joseph. Snow squalls are expected across the Twin Tiers over the next few hours. The squalls will move through the I-81 corridor in upstate New York and Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania. Probably between 2 and 4 this afternoon. Snow squalls will reduce visibility to near zero at times with rapid snow accumulations and blowing snow. So travel conditions will be difficult. If you're planning to travel this afternoon on an interstate, it's best to get off at the nearest exit or avoid travel until the snow squall passes. So just be careful out there. Thank you, everyone who called and all who are listening to Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph. Have a great afternoon listening to WNBF.
This is News Radio 1290 AM, WNBF Binghamton. Now on 92.1 FM, W221 EJ Binghamton, a town square.